You ever walk into your own backyard expecting peace, like real honest to God, you can hear your own heartbeat kind of peace, and instead you find a bunch of bulldozers chewing up your family's legacy? Because that's how my Monday started. One minute I'm picturing wheat swaying, chickens squawking, maybe the old barn door creaking. Next thing I know, I'm staring at orange survey stakes poked through 3 generations of Reeves farmland and enough construction equipment to pave a runway to Mars. And right there center stage is Prudence Blackwell. If you've never met a woman who can glare at you through $500 sunglasses and make you feel like you just tracked mud into the Ritz, let me introduce you to the president of our HOA. She's got arms crossed, a little half smirk, and behind her, workers painting actual runway lines from my barn straight to the back fence. Then get this, my phone buzzes. It's my office. Mr. Secretary, Air Force One requesting clearance. That's when it hit me. Prudence, the self-appointed queen of suburbia, just picked a fight with the only man in America who could literally shut down every airport in the country. Wild, right? If someone tried to build a runway through your great-granddad's cornfield, what would you do? Me, I'm about to tell you how federal revenge actually tastes. But hang on, let me rewind, because that morning's runway was just the last straw, not the first. My name's Jackson Reeves. Maybe you've seen me on TV, but 6 months ago I landed a job that still doesn't feel real. United States Secretary of Transportation. Yeah, that guy. Airports, highways, railroads, my signature's on more stuff than I can remember. But instead of basking in a DC office, I'm standing in Ohio cow manure trading glares with a woman who makes North Korean generals look reasonable. See this 240-acre farm? It's been ours since 1923. My great-grandfather fought through the Depression with a mule, a chainsaw, and more stubbornness than sense. The old farmhouse, built in '47, still standing. The red barn survived the blizzard of '78. Our field. 4 generations have learned the same lesson. Honest work trumps easy money every time. My dad Harold's 78 joints shot from 6 decades of farming needs hip surgery. Medicare won't pay for because apparently real work doesn't count. My wife Elena, bless her, is an ag consultant who can tell what's wrong with soil just by sniffing it. Her homemade bread makes this whole county smell like home. Our twin daughters come back from college on breaks, driving the same tractor their great-granddad bought at auction, moments that make you forget about the world's problems for a minute. And then, Meadowbrook Estates popped up 3 years ago right next door like some kind of suburban fungus. 47 country luxury houses sold to people who wanted the postcard version of farm life without any of the mud or noise. The smell of Elena's bread now competes with the chemical stink from their lawn treatments. Roosters, drowned out by leaf blowers at 7 a.m. sharp. Developers sold them authentic rural living, which apparently means pretty views minus anything real. And then the county decided, for reasons known only to realtors and people who love paperwork, that we fall under their HOA. And that's when Prudence showed up. Retired insurance adjuster from Cleveland, moved out here for peace and quiet, then immediately filed 23 complaints about farm sounds, animal smells, and I kid you not, the unsightly appearance of agricultural equipment. She measures grass with a ruler, photographs cow pies for her evidence file, treats crowing roosters like a crime against humanity. 2 years as HOA president and ruling that subdivision like a petty dictator. Half the neighbors actually like us. They buy tomatoes, bring their kids to see calves. They get it, rural life is messy and real. But Prudence's crowd thinks they bought a Disney postcard, cows in the distance, but no noise, no smells, no reality. 6 months back, Prudence gets creative. Hires a surveyor who discovers that our only driveway, same one we've used for 60 years, runs across a Phantom County easement. Next thing I know, she's handing me an invoice for $75,000 in back usage fees and $5,000 a month going forward just to drive to my own house. I'm holding this bill, hands shaking from pure rage, and it tastes like blood in my mouth. Imagine me responsible for every mile of asphalt in America getting shaken down in my own yard. But nobody out here knows who I am. To them, I'm just Harold's kid come home to keep the farm afloat. And because I believe in being neighborly, I tried to talk it out. Big mistake. I thought I was dealing with decent people. Spoiler, I was not. She wasn't finished either. 2 weeks later, she claims our septic permits expired. Never mind that farm septic permits are basically immortal unless you remodel the place. Ours was fine, but Prudence, with her insurance adjuster background, had combed county records for any scrap of technicality. Files a formal complaint, demands we stop all operations pending new permits. The county inspector, who looked like he'd never seen real dirt in his life, waltzes over and tells me the permit process will take 6 to 8 months. We have 6 weeks until harvest. I watched that city inspector try to knock mud off his shoes while poking our perfectly good septic system. That's when I realized Prudence wasn't just being petty, she wanted to wipe us out. Lucky for us, my years in D.C. taught me there's always a loophole. I dug up the AG exemption for emergency harvest operations, filed for it the next day. But I didn't stop there. If Prudence wanted to play the expired permit game, I figured we'd make it interesting. Public records turns out Prudence's own house had the exact same septic permit issue. So did 15 other Meadowbrook homes. Monday morning, I filed complaints on all of them. Now, the inspector who was so eager to shut us down had to inspect 47 houses. Suddenly, the urgent risk didn't seem so urgent. And wouldn't you know, our farm passed every test, but 19 subdivision homes, including Prudence's, failed for things like illegal pool additions, unpermitted decks, you name it. Her fines alone totaled $15,000. I can still hear her shrieking at the inspector. Elena, being Elena, offered consulting to help our neighbors fix their violations at cost. That flipped about 8 families from down with the farm to maybe the farmers aren't so bad. Harold. He loved every second of it. Turns out the health department director was a Korean war buddy. Overnight, our permit paperwork got processed faster than a greased pig at a county fair. You'd think that would be enough. It wasn't. Prudence, not one to back down, hires this guy Bradford Sinclair, a property optimization specialist from Columbus. The man shows up in a BMW $2,000 suit cologne you could smell a mile away, trailed by a convoy of surveyors. In 48 hours, we're facing 52 code violations. Our 1952 barn is incompatible with the residential character. Chickens are agricultural eyesores. Fences violate aesthetic standards. Daily fines $1,500 until we comply or give up. I dealt with enough federal policy to know about right to farm laws, protection for farms that existed before suburbs invaded. Marched to the courthouse, filed a discrimination complaint, then went for a USDA AG preservation grant that would lock this land as a working farm for 10 more years. Bradford's counterattack. He takes us to regional TV, paints us as backward hicks blocking progress. But the thing is, rural folks don't like being called backward by some city consultant. By Friday, angry farmers from 3 counties are blowing up my phone. Then Elena discovers the real kicker: Bradford's company is owned by Midwest Aviation Development. Turns out those pricey homes in Meadowbrook were sold with promises of a private runway. Buyers had paid premiums for airport access that never materialized because the FAA rejected their application because of our barn house and our ancient oak tree. Digging deeper, we found emails Bradford's company stood to make $2.2 million if they cleared obstacles, that's us, out of the way. Prudence herself had invested $75,000 in Bradford's firm, betting on that airport windfall. Her war on our farm was never about community standards, it was pure greed, plain and simple. My security detail, yeah, even rural secretaries get security these days, had been quietly running background checks. Turns out Bradford's outfit was already under federal investigation for fraud in 3 states. 200 families run off their land by promises of airports that never happened. Suddenly, this was bigger than a local squabble. But here's the moral crossroads. I had the power to call in federal resources, but is it right to use that for my own family? The answer came from Dad's son. If you can stop this from happening to other families and you don't, you're no better than they are. So I went to the feds, not as secretary, but as a victim with a few connections. Bradford, feeling squeezed, makes the ultimate mistake, tries to bribe a county official to expedite eminent domain. That guy, honest as they come, calls the cops. Within 24 hours, Bradford's hit with corruption charges. But Bradford's so desperate he files emergency papers claiming our farm is a public safety hazard. He even doctors photos of our barn to look condemned. But rookie mistake, he forgets you can't build an airport without FAA approval. Meanwhile, Elena, working through the night, finds something wild. Our 100-year-old oak grove is home to endangered Indiana bats. Legally, that means a 150-foot buffer zone, goodbye runway, goodbye airport. By the time Bradford's bulldozers are warming up, federal marshals arrive with environmental protection orders. The man loses it, screaming about environmental terrorism while being calmly told, "It's the law, sir." But wait, the plot thickens. Agent Indigo, my contact at the federal task force, calls to say they've got Bradford on tape instructing Prudence to destroy records and discussing bribes, plus making threats about dealing with that farmer. It's now an official threat against a federal official, me. We gather the troops: Elena Margaret, our firecracker, environmental lawyer, Dr. Whitmore, bat expert, Pastor Williams, my security detail. Margaret's ready to drop a RICO lawsuit on Bradford and the HOA for conspiracy and civil rights violations. Dr. Whitmore brings photos of bats, our farm now officially a conservation area with property value going up, not down. Then comes the town hall. Bradford's set up like he's unveiling Watergate photos, timelines, dramatic lighting. He's even got a videographer. Prudence, now deep in the scheme, is surrounded by her investor friends. The gym's packed. Bradford calls me out. This man isn't just a farmer, he's the U.S. Secretary of Transportation, and he's been using government resources to sabotage development. I step up, let the crowd buzz a second, then lay it all out. Yeah, I'm Secretary Reeves, and your airport application, denied 18 months ago, due to our barn, our house, and our 100-year-old oaks protected by federal law. Your investors paid for amenities that were never possible. The crowd goes dead silent. Then I pull out my ID. Agent Indigo, I say. She steps forward, badge out, flanked by federal agents. Bradford Sinclair, you're under arrest for interstate fraud, conspiracy, bribery, and threats against a federal official. The sound of handcuffs snapping shut, sweeter than Elena's apple pie. And then Margaret stands up. Mrs. Blackwell, Prudence here invested over $200,000. Much of it borrowed into this scheme, and she's being charged for conspiracy and money laundering. Her friends abandon her in the front row, and you can see the moment she realizes it's all over. In the aftermath, Bradford's empire collapsed. Restitution checks went out to hundreds of families. Our farm, now federally protected, became a regional conservation success. Elena's AG programs booked out. Harold finally got his hip fixed, paid for through rural healthcare grants. Our kids learned the real meaning of legacy, and that Oak Grove, now home to guided tours for city kids to learn about endangered bats. So what's the lesson here? It's not about winning or beating the bad guys with bigger guns. It's about standing your ground when the world tries to shove you off it. About knowing the value of honest work and recognizing that sometimes the real bullies aren't the ones with the loudest voices, but the ones who quietly rewrite the rules for their own gain. Karma, justice, call it what you want. Sometimes you get to watch it work in real time. The smell of fresh-baked bread on the porch, Harold teaching tractor skills to the next generation, the echo of laughter and freedom, that's our real victory. Now I'll leave you with this. Where's the line between progress and theft? When does power cross over into plain old greed? Drop your story below. Ever tangled with an HOA or a bully who thought the rules didn't apply to them? Because Bradford's story, it's just the first chapter. The fight for rural America, heck, for any community that refuses to roll over for corporate schemes, is just getting started.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.